Congratulations, Benny, getting first place with your yellow deck. 20 players today. Pretty cool.
Thanks.
Would you like to walk us through your lovely deck?
Sure.
Oh, interesting. Characters from Final Fantasy. It has a card game? What? Okay.
That's a 2020. So my eggs, pretty standard for yellow. At least in this set, it's either you can play Upamon or Digimon. And I decided to run 4 because it's easier for me to control being at 3 and under. So it seemed like the obvious choice for me. Just draw cards. And Digimon, I mean, some people play 4, but I kind of like having 5. Sometimes you need to draw. It's not a bad card. Sometimes if you get it, especially if you get it early. If you get it early, it pays off. Rookies. Running 4 of the Patamon. This is from the starter deck. What it does is, anytime an opponent's memory is deleted by going to 0 DP, you gain a memory. Happens once per turn during my turn. And so this is pretty important, just so you don't pass the turn over to your opponent, because of the way ShineGraymon can be, costing 4 to Digivolve into, and if you're at 3, you would like to Digivolve in an attack, like most ShineGraymon decks. I think most of them generally run 4 of these, so you can do that kind of stuff.
Seems to be their MVP choice for their rookies.
Yeah, so these are pretty standard, I think, for any ShineGraymon deck. And I have the 3 Lotmon in here, so I feel like this number varies quite a bit. I think in ShineGraymon decks, you may see none, you may see 2. Generally, I think I see 2. Some run 4 too. I think 3 is fine. It's a really good card. Lotmon is great. You could run 4 if you want. I think it's a card you really want to see all the time, just because the security manipulation is pretty important to activate cards like Upamon and drawing, and to get your recovery off too, because you want to be at 3, you can potentially put yourself back up to 4 if you need to. And of course, it works as a cheap engine, right? It doesn't hurt to play it early, and it's kind of like you Digivolve to draw a card, except you take a hit in security, which is not the worst thing for yellow.
While you were playing your 5 rounds, how many of the players tried to security choke you?
Early in the game?
Oh, sorry, not security choke, but make sure your security is at pretty much try to keep you at 4.
Pretty much everybody. Nobody really wanted to swing into me. I think at least early on, they kind of just waited and tried to go all at once and try to just take me out. I think that's what generally most people tried to do. I had one match where I was playing against an Imperial Digimon deck, and of course, it was in our game 3, where he told me his opening hand was 2 Gomamon and like 3 Elecmon. And he apologized in advance because then he slammed down like all rookies. He Digivolved and he went rookie, and I was like, okay, because I was going first that game, so he had a little extra memory to work with, since I lost the second match to him, and so. That was interesting, but I was able to recover, and I was able to mitigate it and recover, and eventually I just board wiped and went for game. It was a little tough for him too. I mean, that could work, but chances are you're not really going to look too good if you go wide against ShineGraymon if you have the cards, right? If you end up getting the rise into a ShineGraymon, or if they check into security with 3K and under. I mean, generally these rookies are kind of weak, like 1 and 2, but if you just play 1 TK, which I actually had 2, everything gets plus 2K, and that's usually pretty good against rookies. So yeah, 1 game out of the 5 rounds, 1 person tried that, and he didn't really. It's not like he had a choice though, because his whole hand was rookies. So yeah, it didn't work out too well for him. Got close, but the recovery, this deck can recover pretty well on its back if given the opportunity to. So yeah, and Lotmon, I actually did play this in that match, actual match, that round 3. So I felt pretty bad, hurting myself 1 time, but it paid off. It paid off. The other rookies, so I have 2 Labramon. So Labramon's actually a really good card in the ShineGraymon deck. I think everyone knows what this does, where if you reduce the Digimon to 0, you get to draw a card. It happens during your turn, and yeah, it's great, especially if you're playing ShineGraymon, because if you play it, you're probably going to delete at least 1 thing. And so it works as an engine. I think most people play 3 or 4. I have 2 because I wanted to make room for other rookies.
I've seen some players reduce it down to at least 3 to 2, just because they see it enough where they just want to just get his ability off like one or twice, like roughly 2 times or so.
Yeah, I think you don't want to deck yourself out either. It's pretty possible to deck yourself out in this deck, because generally this deck will stretch the game. That's the goal, is just to build up and take your time, not rushing anyone down. So that's Labramon. Oh, here we go. Forgot about these guys. 3 of this 4-cost Salamon. I love this card a lot. On deletion, you recover 1 if you have 3 or fewer security. Pretty good card. Yeah, recover 1 is really important, especially later on. This card helped me a lot against my last match too, against Red Omni, I think it was, where yeah, he hit me for like 3 security with 1 Volcanic Dramon. That hurt. I was like, all right, I had to deal with that, and I was able to build this guy up here in the breeding area and slap him on the board. So I don't care if he ultra-resses it or if it gets deleted by any of the effects that Red can do. Like if I hit a Gaia Force or something, I don't care, because it'll give me 1 memory back. Not 1 memory, 1 security back. And yeah, pretty important card. And of course, going into Red has a lot of bombs and security, so swinging in and it dying is pretty likely unless you hit a Tamer. Probably gonna die. So yeah, Salamon's pretty good for stalling the game out. And I run 2 of this Salamon. I originally had the Choker Salamon that cost 2, but I decided to go with this instead because the minus 1k inheritable. This actually helped me out in the same game too. Believe it or not, I Digivolved on top of it and swung with a Unimon and killed a blocker that was suspended. That was great. And I put him at 1 too, so yeah, I felt like, I mean, I was trying to stabilize at that point in the game, and yeah, that felt pretty good because I was removing a lot of his high cost cards already. So I didn't want to let him build up another stack, and he didn't have anything in the raising area, so yeah, that felt really good. I was like, alright, my Unimon can be rested, and I'm not going to worry about him dying unless he wanted to Gaia Force it or something. So yeah,
Does that
Salamon,
1k really help a lot?
that 1k actually helps. And sometimes you see stuff like Gabumon or something, very common in those blue decks that are 1k, and instead of it checking your security, you kind of just get rid of it. That feels good too. Yeah, and of course with another reason why I have it in here is with ShineGraymon, every Tamer is 4, or worth 4k, and so sometimes you only get 12, and you kind of need that 1 extra for 13 in some situations. So you save yourself some trouble, or you know, you go to 4 to 5. And yeah, that helps out a lot. I know some Rookie Rush decks now are moving towards the 5k pool, so that 1 extra will save you a Tamer. And yeah, those Rookie Rush decks are generally doing that because of Volcanic Dramon, and because they can now. So Unimon, I have 4 of. I think that's important in all ShineGraymon decks. You probably run 4 blockers. Gotta stay alive. From more champions, Digimon, vanilla 1 cost to Digivolve into. Yep, just turboing. Trying to get there efficiently. Sometimes you get choked out pretty hard if you don't see your Tamers. So
Seems like almost every deck is running this 6-drop 6k vanillas.
yeah, these guys are pretty good too because they get around Ultra S as well. So they survive just like Unimon. Yeah, not bad.
They can challenge blockers as well.
Yep. And with the little Salamon, they can kill them. So. And then for my last 2 slots and champions, I chose to go with Ankylamon. So this was a late edition. These are interchangeable. They don't have to be in the deck. I kind of like having them in here because I can recover quite a bit in here, so a decent enough amount where there's a good chance I just slap them in here. And I do run Cherubimon, and so I can put them in there. I can control what I put into my security, and so I can just choose to put Ankylamon in there, and I know that they swing in, I'll have a 4 on my turn if they don't get rid of it that turn. And so it helps me Digivolve up to 5. And this deck, getting to 5 is pretty important. For my 5s, so I have 10 of those 4s. My 5s, I run 2 Sirenmon. Sirenmon's really good. If you play against decks that either your opponent bricks or some decks actually like to hard cast a lot, this will let you just Sirenmon into ShineGraymon. Late game, that's pretty good. Not too bad. Costs 9, and yeah.
Costs 9?
Yep. Oh, it costs 9 total if you go to ShineGraymon.
Oh, got it.
You sign for 5, play to ShineGraymon, it'll cost 9. Sometimes that happened to me quite a bit today, actually, because people were playing stuff like Puppet Mine, Volcanic Dramon, Barrel Dramon, any of those Ragnarlord Dramon 6s. They would hardcast those, and so that would give me the opportunity to just play Sirenmon into ShineGraymon later in the game and just remove whatever threat was on the board so it could Digivolve. Sirenmon, I feel like it's very important. Just a 2-of though.
I see other usually play like 3 copies.
3's probably fine. I think the reason why I have 2 is because I wanted to recover. So I play on Jewelmon as well. I think people either play this one or the other one. I've seen other decks use the one that does minus security. That's an interesting one because it gives an inheritable of dropping a 3 from your hand on swing, I believe. A 3 cost yellow. I mean a level 3 yellow. So that one's kind of good.
I vaguely I don't remember its effect, but I recall people were using it, but then they kind of opted out and went back to this one.
Okay, I remember. I think I saw on some lists.
Yeah, and if anything, when they want to flex, they use the TP version. Yeah, the TP version has a different art.
So I'm a pretty big fan of this card, just because you got to survive, like I said, and so sometimes just playing the ShineGraymon isn't enough. And if you have the memory to Digivolve once before going in with your ShineGraymon the same turn, that could be a lifesaver. Just going up to 4, it's almost like having a blocker at the same time. And to round out my 5s, I have, of course, 4 Rise Greymon. You have to play this card if you're playing ShineGraymon, just to get the Tamers out efficiently. You don't get the effects when you play them, but every Tamer's minus 4,000, so, and a security +1 is really nice when you have 3+ Tamers. Definitely helps you get there at the end of the game, because a lot of the time with this deck you're not really swinging to them early, and so you really just get them in 1 or 2 turns in the end just to take them out. And when you have enough Tamers, usually your ShineGraymon is going to survive almost anything. As long as you get up to, as long as you have 5, you'll be at 16. You'll avoid the Omnis. The only thing you won't avoid is probably the anything like Terror Cluster or Gaia Force or something like that, or Kakaida's Breath, where you kind of bounce them. But other than those options, yeah, this makes ShineGraymon pretty strong. Or any 6 going up on top of it really lets you check a little bit more. And just moving to my 6s, of course I play 4 ShineGraymon. Main card of the deck, main Mega. Very strong card in the current meta. Every Tamer gives him +1,000 on my turn, DP. And when I Digivolve into him, when I suspend all my Tamers or any number of Tamers I want, it's minus 4,000 to a Digimon of my choice. And so yeah, this card can take out a lot of threats, pretty much anything if I have 4. But yeah, a lot of the time all I needed was 2 or 3 just to get rid of 12s and unders. Anytime opponents went wide, I wouldn't feel too bad just to Digivolve into them and take out, two rookies. It's not too bad. Not the best thing, but I mean, if that's all they have on the board, you set yourself up for the future. Then you have to deal with the ShineGraymon, and that's not easy. I have 2 Trubimon in here.
Hello.
So, I like this card. When I was building this deck, I was thinking about those shitty Tamers. Yellow has really good Tamers, but the thing is, when you're playing ShineGraymon, you need more Tamers than just the TKs and Akaris. So you gotta play the 3rd Tamer that's out, and that's the security TK. So that's what I thought initially. I'm like, okay, so if he's in security, if I just have one of those TKs, he's 13. If I have 2, he'd be 15. And then, of course, what he does on swing, when he attacks, if I have 3 or less security, I can choose one yellow Digimon in my trash and put it on top of my security. So what's really cool about this is that I can put Ankylamon, and they swing into this. Yeah, best friends. Then it'll just come in on my turn, on their turn, and maybe potentially on my turn if he sticks. I could choose ShineGraymon and just bring it back with like Lopmon. That's fun because I just put it on top, and if they don't swing into it because they don't want to lose their Digimon, I can just play Lopmon on my turn, pick it right back up, and go again. Because sometimes your ShineGraymon's going security, and it sucks when this deck doesn't get ShineGraymon, so you got to find a way to get it out.
Yeah, there's not really anything that truly fetches your key cards.
Right.
So something like this, this setup is a nice alternate out besides the TK Tamer.
Yep. If you don't get the TK Tamer, that's an alternate way of getting it, a way of recurring. And so yeah, Cherubimon's kind of interesting. I had one, I went with two. I think I like seeing this card. Very situational though. But it's not a bad card to see, especially if you don't see your shines. And you need to stall out, you can always... It's like a recover one, in a sense.
Does this thing get annoying for some people?
It can be annoying. I don't think anyone was too annoyed by it today. I think I did it once today in all 5 rounds, so it wasn't too bad for anybody. But it was definitely a line I would have. Like, I'd have the option, and I'd have to just weigh out my options. And yeah, having options is nice. And in this deck, you generally have a lot of options, because you try to stall out the game, and so long games you have a lot of options, and yeah, it helps you work your way back into the game, because a lot of the times you might not start optimally, and so you have to work your way either unbricking or just trying to get to the finish line, you know. Yeah, sometimes you don't draw optimally, and so you have to unbrick yourself. And yeah, definitely helps stretch the game. My last mega, I have 1 Slash Angemon. So that originally was 2, and I switched it out for Cherubimon. And Slash Angemon is just a really good card. Sometimes you don't get your Tamers as quickly as you want, and so your ShineGraymon doesn't really do as much as it can. It doesn't really reach its full potential. And sometimes they don't go wide, or they don't have... It's so situational. Slash Angemon is a potential kill almost anything. Actually, pretty much take out anything if it's suspended. As long as you have 3 memory, he just gives a Digimon -8, and he's 8 himself, so unless you're playing against a black deck where their Digimon get plus 1k, or they stack the 1ks on their turn, you're probably gonna kill it, whatever it is. And yeah, he's kind of like a pseudo ShineGraymon as well. He kind of does the same thing where you just subtract DP, and you can trigger Labramon, Patamon effects. Yeah, this card's pretty nice. I like it when I face Omni decks. Any deck running Omnimon. There's a Sarismon deck too, so he definitely helps me get rid of those little threats out there. People don't really see it coming too much. I think some of the ShineGraymon decks do run this. I don't know how many. I think sometimes some run like 1, 2.
It's a love-hate relationship with some. Like, some will run at 2, some at 0.
Yeah.
The tech at 1 is nice. It's just, he's such a... It's still a good card, but it's starting to just see like a tech option play, which is still, I mean, definitely enough in some matches.
Yeah. And Tamers, I run 9 Tamers. 3 of the security TK. And yeah, the security TK just gives 2,000 DP to your Digimon in your security zone. So not the best, but it is a 2 cost, so you can use it maybe as a way of choking as well if you have nothing better to do. Not the worst thing. It kind of is not very optimal to do that, but sometimes you don't have a choice. I did have to do that like once or twice today, just because I didn't want to give my opponent too much memory. And it's not the best card, but at the same time,
it makes your security
better. So it's okay. I didn't want to run too many Tamers, and that's why I decided to run 9. So 3 of these, 3 Karis. Kari's amazing. I think most decks run 3 to 4. She's just so good. Security manipulation is pretty easy in this deck, so getting to 3 is not that difficult. especially if your opponent helps you by hitting you once, twice. Getting that one memory is so valuable. Like, having 3 is nice with the other TK, but if you can get to 4 and up, then you have a lot more plays you can make. Just being able to play Digivolve into a ShineGraymon and be able to swing is a big difference from just being able to play it. Or just Digivolving into it and being able to play a blocker, or Digivolving into it and being able to Digivolve into recovery just to stall it out. It helps so much. Sometimes a Shine isn't enough, and when you Digivolve and pass over, yeah, this helps so that you don't pass a turnover. And my last 3, of course, are the expensive guys. They're these TKs. Yeah. Memory is super important. You definitely need to get as much memory as you can on your turn. It feels good. And the really nice thing about this is that it lets you dig through your security. And so digging through your security, you get to see what's in there. If you have your ShineGraymon in there, great. You take it, tuck it away, save it for a rainy day, right? Like, the opponent goes, well, I mean, you have to show it to them. And even if you can't go to 6, let's say you didn't have any 5s in your hand, they still see the ShineGraymon, so they have to play around it. They don't know when you're going to put it down. They just know, okay, ShineGraymon's in there. Now let's count as Tamers. And so just having that threat is nice. And sometimes you get other things that you don't need. I mean, other things other than ShineGraymon that you do need. Like if you're missing a 5 or a 4, or you just take that card and Digivolve up.
Did it feel like 3 was fine? Because I usually see people run 4, and they manage the other 2 being at like 2 to 3 or whatnot. Even run between like 10 to 12.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of decks do run a lot of Tamers. They usually go into double digits, like 10 or 12, like you said. But I think 3 is fine. I was pretty happy with 3 today because the thing about TK is after that on play, it doesn't really do a lot. Costing 4 isn't really great either, especially if you get them early. You kind of don't want to give them much memory, and so getting to play him just one time a game is almost all you really need from your hand as a hardcast. Just to filter through and see what's in there and see what you're not gonna draw, right? Because the thing about this card is that you have ShineGraymon, and then when you play that Tamer from ShineGraymon's effect, you don't get the ability, and so it doesn't really feel that great when you play this. You'd rather even play You'd rather play this than this off of ShineGraymon, just because you actually get something, you know. And Car is the best option, of course, off of ShineGraymon, but you don't always get what you want. And so this TK doesn't really do anything after hard casting, and costing 4, yeah, it's a little expensive. So I was pretty happy with this, and I saw it almost every game, really. So felt pretty good. And my last 2 cards are 2 options. Glorious Burst. So when I first saw this card, I wasn't too sure how good it was. But yeah, no, this card is amazing. I can see why people run in this deck. It's nuts. I mean, if let's say you have like TK and any number of, like, let's say you have three Tamers, right? And it could be anything, but as long as you have like a TK, one of these TKs, let's say you have this is just going to put them back to 3. If you're at 3, you'll put them back to 3. It's not even going to cost that much, right? Because it's going to be reduced by 3, 6, and if you're at 3, you'll put them at 3. It's actually not that expensive at all. Like, this is an amazing card. It looks expensive on the outside, but -1 for each Tamer you control to do minus 12 DP to one of your opponent's Digimon. That 12,000 DP is pretty significant, especially in the current meta. It seems like a lot of people are playing 12k megas, and yeah, that's huge. You can slow down Ragnarlord decks if they don't get them right off the bat, if they're trying to ramp up, and if their target happens to be outside of the breeding area, that sets them back pretty far back. That sets them back quite a bit. This card is great, and I was playing a Ceresmon today too, and that game was intense. The guy got 3 Ceresmon in that game against me. I got rid of 2 of them with these 2 copies. Yeah, that was an insane game. Yeah, this card is so good. Warrior's Burst, I think is, I don't know how people generally feel about it. I do know most of these decks, I think they run 2.
2's like the average.
Right?
Yeah. They also play that other one. I forgot the name.
Is it Eden's Javelin?
It's the one with the picture of. Yeah, I think Eden's Javelin's the other one, or got the picture with Digimon on it. It's intended to deal.
Heaven? Where it's minus 10,000?
It's a weaker card. It's like a 4-drop. It's intended to deal against rookies.
Okay.
It does widespread. It's like
Lightning Paw.
Yes, Lightning Paw.
Yeah, they got him on one. Yeah. So we play those. I like Glorious Burst a lot. I know it doesn't activate in security. That's a shitty thing about it. It does not activate in security. That might turn some people off, and that's why other people would play the other cards like Eden's Javelin or Lightning Paw.
Yeah.
Because those do trigger in security. But big threats. This is great for big threats, and it's not as expensive as you think. And if you play security TK, you can fetch it out, so you don't have to worry about them just swinging into it and it going here and doing nothing, feeling bad about it. Just play TK. Not all the time you're going to see Shine and yeah, just take the Glorious Burst. And they had to play around this too now. Then they're like, okay, I can't just play a big guy and hope to Digivolve into a 7 next turn. You know, they're like, okay, if I play a big 6, hoping to go to 7, and he has Glorious Burst, he's just going to Glorious Burst it away. And can't do that, so they have to play around it. And yeah, the Glorious Burst makes a huge difference. So yeah, that's my deck.
Any hard matchups, or at least like for today's tournament? We got a lot of varieties.
Yeah, I played a lot of different decks today. Round 1, it was a Ragnarword. I think it was primarily black, some red Ragnarword. That matchup wasn't too difficult because anytime they would hardcast, like a Digimon or something, this would get rid of it and slow down the process. Round 2, I played against an Imperial Digimon deck, and that was interesting. So that one was a little tougher because of the threat of just restanding and going. Like, I did not want to get one hit in a turn. I'm like, okay, you have to calculate how much damage can they really do. Aside from like their board, maybe they have like 3 Digimon, right? Well, those 3 Digimon can that can turn to like 6 security. You never know, especially with jamming. That's tough. So that one made me a little more nervous, especially when I didn't draw blockers. I was like, oh shit. I hope he doesn't have like XVmon or something and start slapping me for some more.
Yeah,
that's a little scary.
I had some rough matches against Emperor Digimon just for the fact that even let's say you do your best to choke them, they run Hammer Spark.
Yep, Hammer Spark was the thing that that's a thing. So that actually ended one of my turns early. that sucked because I had a Glorious Burst ready and lined up to take care of the Imperial Digimon. And yeah, that was pretty sad. That's how I lost the second round of that match. But I came back in the third, thank God. I was like, oh, Glorious Burst is not going to get his Imperial Digimon. That's going to suck. But, so that was round 2. That match was intense. That was a pretty, anytime you're playing against those Jamming Rush type decks, those are a little, Jamming Rush, Restand. Yeah, those are a little nerve-wracking. You never know how much you're really going to do to you. That's why it's really important to control their memory, too. Just to hopefully limit what they can do. But if they do have the Hammer Sparks or anything, it's tough. Round 3 was a draw, and that was against the Ceresmon with the time. So that match actually wasn't that hard. The first one I got pretty convincingly, but the second match, I mean, it just took a long time. The second match, he almost decked out. He was at 0 cards on his turn. But he got me that turn, and what happened to me that game was that I didn't get enough 5s or 4s. I started off a little slow, and it wasn't optimal, but it wasn't impossible to play the game. I was still able to slowly unbrick. I just had to control what was on the board. The thing was that the Digisorption is so efficient. It's so hard to deal with when he's just Digivolving for free, and then he gets 3 Ceresmon. It's pretty tough. It was pretty tough.
Even after the restriction?
Yes, even after restriction, it's not that bad. I mean, you still have, I think he was running think I saw maybe 2 Mega Gargomon, and that's a pretty good card. I mean, it stalls out, and yeah, it's like a little mini Puppetmon. You know, he's not hard casting it, he's digivolving into it, and has a similar effect as Puppetmon, so he kind of slows me down too if he bricks. He's like, alright, well, now he's stalling and building up his own game, and yeah, I mean, that deck is definitely crazy. He has Mimis in there, so I always have to watch out. He has anything that can potentially get him a 5 on the board so he can hatch and raise quicker. Yeah, that was an interesting matchup. I wish that we didn't go to time just to see how that would actually play out, because that third match would have been really, really intense. But yeah, and the fourth match I played against a Shine Mirror. And so that one it was just like, all right, well, whoever makes the fewest misplays really, or whoever gets the better hand, right? Misplays better. There's some things in mirror matches. That's kind of how they go. It's like whoever's day it is, you know. That's kind of how it goes in mirrors. And in the last match against a Red Omni, that one was. I felt the same way of playing that as I did playing against the Imperial Dramon deck, in the sense that that deck stacks a lot of security +1, and so I have to make sure I'm not going to get killed just by two Digimon. Because if let's say he had +3 on a Volcanic Dramon, I mean +2, so it's swinging for 3 on Volcanic Dramon, and so yeah, that's a little scary because he hit me for 3 that turn, and he had 1 more Digimon for a perfect 4. That put me at 0. And my board was not that optimal, but I was able to recover and slam in with some Salamon and Digivolve into Andromon. On my way to digivolving into ShineGraymon to clear his board. So that helped me turn the table back around and, you know, slowly recover and board wipe. So that game, or that matchup was interesting. Definitely have to watch out for the security plus, but I feel like this deck generally does well against that, as long as they don't kill you in one turn. If you just survive, you can build back up. You can build back up if you survive. And so, yeah, I think there are definitely some scary moments when people get aggressive. But this deck, I feel like, is pretty well suited to dealing with a lot of situations.
Okay, cool. Any last words or any shout-outs?
Shout out to all my friends who always playtest with me. You know, playtesting is very important in this game. I feel like the more you get to playtest, the more you get to know your deck. And sometimes when you see like a meta deck online that you want to copy, you can find ways to make it more your style by playtesting. Sometimes certain cards work for other people that don't really work for the way you play. And so through playtesting, you kind of get a chance to figure out what does work for you, what doesn't. And yeah, you know, I was playtesting with Anson and Jensen, and yeah, very helpful. The way they play their card games too, you know, it's very, very helpful playing against skillful players, you know. So, and of course, shout out to Matt, you know, for hosting this event every week, doing a great job keeping just card games alive in general, the locals in general alive, you know, because during the pandemic it's always rough to even get out and play for some people. And so just having the option to play, you know, keeping the card games alive.
Even if we do it through webcam, right?
Yes, webcam, you know, it's not the same because through webcam it's still hard to read cards and narratives. It gets a little tricky sometimes.
Yeah, I actually, it causes me like mild anxieties when I'm looking at the screen and like, wait, I can't touch this card.
You can't touch it. And if you want to go like, hey, can I see what that card does? And just, you know, or just turn it around just to read it one time. You know, shout out to everybody at CSG for participating. Thank you guys.
Well, thank you very much. Appreciate your time here. Really great walkthrough of your deck.
Thank you.
Can't wait to see how well you do next week, or if you're able to come next week or so.
Yeah, I'll try to come next week, and let's see. Maybe I'll bring the same one, maybe a new deck that I've been working on, if I get the cards.
Yep, cool. All right. Thank you to everyone watching, and see you next time.